Hello and welcome to another video. The name is OT19 or Ultimate Gamer 19,000, and I'm here to show you how to make your first ever D&D character. I'll be using the Charactermancer as a visualizer, but I will also be explaining in depth how to pick everything out. So if you're not using Roll20, don't worry, don't fret. This video will still help you. Now, the first thing you want to do is pick your class, because picking your class tells you what type of stats you need to use, how you'll be fighting, and stuff like that. So now I'll be making a monk because the monk is my favorite class, and way to load. And here, I don't think this is only a Roll20 thing, but on Roll20 at least, it tells you what abilities they suggest, which is dexterity and wisdom. And now this is very useful for newer players that don't know the ins and outs of every class. So usually, as a player character, you want your stats to be really high for the suggested ability scores. Most of the time, there are some examples. There are some people, there are some classes, that don't fall by that rule, but most of them just use the suggested and you'll be fine. So now every single class gives you some skill proficiencies. Now, in a later video, I will be explaining what skills are, but that's probably going to be either the video that comes out before this one or the next video on my channel. So for this monk, we'll pick acrobatics and athletics. And then here, as a level 1 character, you get to see all of your features. I highly recommend reading through all of these features to see everything. Then once you're done with that, I would then recommend getting your stats. Now you may be asking, Oti, how do I get my stats? Well, there are 3 Wizards of the Coast sanctioned methods. The standard array. This is garbage. Don't use it. And if your DM makes you use it, find a new one. Rolling for stats. Now, many DMs won't allow this because you can either get really good stats or you can get like really bad ones. Like, see, these are bad ones. So you can either get really good ones or really bad ones. But the safest method is usually just point buy. Now, point buy is you get a set amount of points, which is 27, and you can input them into any stat. But if you want to go past the 13, it will cost more points. So for a monk, monks want, again, good dexterity and good wisdom. So we are going to max our dexterity, our wisdom. Now, monks also do want a good constitution, because constitution is what gives the player HP. I will have another video where I explain all of the stats and what they do. I don't know when that one's going to get posted. Maybe like Saturday, Sunday. That's when I try to post. Well, at least today. Today's December 14th. So by Saturday or Sunday, I'll try to have a video explaining all the stats, so look forward to that. But monks want a good constitution. And I know usually, I would never recommend putting 315s. But since I'm playing a certain race, I can actually put in 315s and not be harmed. So now, it's time for your race. Now, the things for races is, usually, back in the olden days, if you want to play a Dragonborn, you're forced to use the stats that were granted to you. Now, thanks to Kasha's Cauldron of Everything, you don't have to. Now, for any race, you can pick any stat improvements you want. So just because you play a Dragonborn doesn't mean you have to take a +1 to Charisma or +2 to Strength. You can now take a +1 to Wisdom and a +2 to Intelligence if you wanted. But I won't be playing a Dragonborn. I'll be playing a half-elf. Now, the special things about half-elves is, out of every single race in the game, they get the most ability score increases than any other race. That's official D&D content. They get the most. So now, since we did put 15, 15, 15, oh, well, okay, I seem to forgot to put my other stats in. Well, not my fault. Okay, no, that's fine. But since we did put 15 into all of our stats, now our wisdom and constitution will not be 16s. And at 16, you get an extra point to any check you make. And for our dexterity, and for our +2, we'll pick our dexterity, because that's the highest stat we can do. Now, what alignment is from the scale of evil to bad, where's your character? Now, this character, we'll make him a monk. So I'll say he's neutral good, a good person. But if you want to play a chaotic evil character, You can. But first of all, make sure with your party and table what type of characters they're playing. Because if you're with a bunch of lawful good players and you're chaotic evil, then you'll probably end up getting killed. It's just, so make sure that you know what alignment your whole party's gonna be before you pick yours. Now elves get skill proficiencies, any. So now I'll just pick some skills. I'll pick insight. Insight's a good one, and perception. Two good skills. Every single race you get to pick one extra language. For here, usually ask your DM what type of languages will be most prominent if they're willing to get that up. So for example, if you're playing in a campaign that takes place in a Fey world, then it's probably going to be better to like learn how to speak Elvish if there's a lot of elves there, or if it's taking place in Hell, it'll probably be better to like learn Infernal. So we'll pick Infernal. Now, okay, we've done the class, we've done the abilities. Now it's time for background. Now, what backgrounds are, basically they're just extra proficiencies, and they give some middling abilities. Usually, one I like to pick is Gladiator. Now, just because you pick a background does not mean your character has to be that background. Usually, I never make if my players wants to have a background as a gladiator, I'll never force them to like act like one. So in reality, your DM might do it differently, but me, just because you pick the background does not mean your character has to be that. But yeah, every background has set skill proficiencies, as you can see. A gladiator has acrobatics and performance. For tool, and also some backgrounds may give you some like little things such as get drums or stuff like that. Now we do usually have personality traits that deal with bonds and flaw. I, as a DM, never tell my players they have to do anything that will change how their character acts if they don't want to. So usually I just skip out on these personality traits. I usually just skip this. Now your DM may be a little bit more harder than I am, and they force you to like play by these traits. But if they do, you can break them. It's your character at the end of the day. It doesn't really matter. So I usually just skip that. Now for equipment. For equipment, you can either do starting wealth. Well, now with starting wealth, every single class has a different amount of dice they can roll to see how much gold they start off with. For example, 12. So now if I wanted to, I would have to buy all of my gear only having 12 gold. Which usually, that's pretty bad. Now some classes have higher dices than others. Monks have a lower one because Wizard of the Coast hate monks. That's a video for another day though. So usually I would recommend just pick the class equipment. It's usually going to be your smartest option. Now for monks, I'll pick the quarterstaff because I like a monk with a quarterstaff. Usually I'll pick the explorer's pack, and now being gladiator, you get any weapon. So I'll pick. No, I think I'll pick a short sword, and then this doesn't really matter. I always just pick trinket. Our character is not casting spells. Our character does not have a race that gives them a feat early on. And then bio. Now bio, this is where you put your character's name, age, height, weight, eyes, hair, and skin. This is purely for your DM, so then they know anything. So we'll call this monk Leon. No, I don't. Nita. Yeah, Nita the monk. Age, 19. Height, 6'7". I wrote that wrong. Weight, I don't know, 165. Eyes, green. Hair, black. Oh, I wrote that incorrectly. My fault. Hair, black. Skin, white, because I'm an elf. Half elf. Review, and here you can review everything. Now, you do see some. Now, for some reason, Roll20 has this bug where if you pick like half elf or something, or any race that gives you an ability score improvement, they won't tell you picked it, but you did pick it. So don't worry about that. I didn't pick these personality traits because I don't use them. And now, the thing is, okay, this I don't know. Okay, I think. Well, let me go back to my monk. It says I can. Not. Okay, sometimes the thing's bugging, but if it is, just ignore it. If you know your character correctly, that's fine. Boom, all my stuff there, everything looks right. Apply changes, and then boom, now I have my first level, my level 1 monk. And now here I can do unarmed strikes, 16, 7 damage. Boom. Now here you have everything, you know your character. Now you may be asking, how do I level up? Simple. Now for level ups, you can either so now when you level up, you have to pick your class you're leveling up into. You may be saying, oh, but I picked monk. Should I get more levels into monk? Now, as a starter player, I always recommend stay single classed, you'll be fine. But for newer slash advanced classes, you can multi-class, which basically, if you meet ability score requirements, now some DMs don't use the ability score requirements, but if your DM does, each class has a set of ability score requirements you have to reach to multi-class into them. Such, for example, paladins. To multi-class into paladin, you have to have a 13 charisma. So if we're playing by those rules, I cannot multi-class into paladin. So that's how multi-classing works. Now, if you want to level up for a class, you either can roll for your HP. Every class has a hit dice. So basically, what you do, you roll your hit dice. I think you also add your constitution. No, it's just a plain roll. You would roll your hit dice. I got 4, so I would add 4 to my HP. Or you can use the average roll. That would be listed on the player's handbook or online, which the average is 5. Usually you don't get to pick, you just have to use one. Well, you can see what you rolled, then pick average. Usually you just pick it. So boom, level 2, we get a bunch of new stuff. Read up on all of this. This is all very important. Boom, apply changes. That's it. You roll for your health, your HP. You add it to your current hit points, and then boom, you add your new stuff. And now finally, let's just say now level 3. Level 3 is now where we pick a subclass. For some classes get them at level 1, others get them at level 2, but monks get them at level 3. So now, as a monk, all we have to do is look at a list of subclass options that we have. The subclass options list can be found in usually the wiki is what I use to get all of the lists from every single book available or out. For example, so boom, you have all the subclasses there. But since we have some subclasses from 20, we'll just use those. And let's say Way of Mercy. So we picked the Way of Mercy, and as a Way of Mercy monk, we would have to read up on the abilities we get. So as a Way of Mercy, you get Hands of Healing and Hands of Harm. So boom, now we have those, which is super cool. But now, also for any barbarians or monks that use Roll20, listen here. If you want to have a custom, if you want to have an armor class that scales with your stats, then you simply just have to go to this little button here, go down to the main column, armor class tracking, custom, dex and wisdom. That's what monks use for armor class. Maybe barbarians use something else. Then you have another new armor class. Then if you update your stats, boom, no, that's constitution. You don't use constitution. If you upgrade the right stat, boom, your armor class goes up. Now for the final level we'll cover in this video at least, because this is the final important level, ASIs. Now you might be saying, what is an ASI? Well, at level 4, throughout the levels of 4, 8, 12, 16, and I think 19, don't quote me on that, but I'm pretty sure around every 4 levels, unless you're a fighter or rogue, you get to either increase your ability score improvements by 2 or pick a feat. Now, feats are basically extra little abilities that make your character stronger. Now, there are some feats like Savage Attacker, not Ritual Caster, or some feats like Linguist that suck pretty bad. There are some feats such as Sharpshooter, which are game-breakingly OP. So now you may be saying, oh, I'm just always going to pick a feat. But improving your stats by 2 is really good too. It's still very good. So now, you may be asking, what's the maximum? 20. The maximum for your stats is 20, so you can either increase one ability score by 2, or, this is a bug, hopefully it gets fixed, and increase one by 1 and another by 1. That's what you can do. So yes, that's how ASIs work. You can either pick an ability score improvement, which are these, or a feat. Now, which one should you do? Usually, I'd recommend just max out your stat that you attack with, then look into feats later if you want to. That's always my recommendation. Some builds don't care for ASIs. Some builds don't care for feats. I feel like monks don't really need feats because there aren't many good monk feats out there. So yeah, that's just another thing. But when I do reviews on every single class, I will give you a list of good feats that I recommend. But yeah, that's all for this video. That's how you would make your first ever Dungeons and Dragons characters. If you guys liked, make sure to like, make sure to comment, and make sure to subscribe. And yeah, come back tomorrow for a video on explaining every single stat in D&D. Peace!